They put out the call across all known systems. A bounty so obscene it bordered on desperate. The Galactic Empire, proud and vast, had run out of options. Their enemies had multiplied, their elite forces shredded across front lines. The job was simple in theory. Go alone to the Black Maw Expanse, infiltrate the enemy's fortress world, and assassinate the 7 warlords orchestrating the collapse of galactic order. One job. One assassin. No backup. No return ticket. The Empire called it Operation Final Mercy. Every species laughed at the absurdity. Every species except one. The application came in on a cracked datapad, sealed in blood and silence. No credentials. No recommendations. Only 2 words etched into the metadata like a curse: Baba Yaga. No one in the Imperial High Command recognized the name. But one old intelligence officer flinched like he'd been shot. He whispered stories the others dismissed. A ghost from Earth. The last planet no one dared draft from. Not since the incident. But desperation silences caution. The Empire approved the applicant without ceremony. Hours later, a ship docked at the Empire's core fortress. No insignia. No registry. No weapons visible. Just a human, lean, calm, eyes like a dead star, stepping onto the deck like death itself had accepted the contract. He didn't ask questions. He didn't make introductions. He reviewed the briefing once, nodded once, and left. The mission was to begin in 3 days. He started immediately. The Black Maw Expanse was more myth than territory. A warped stretch of space where navigational AI went mad and sensor readings lied for fun. It was said that even light feared to pass through. Warlords had taken it as home for that very reason. Their fortress was called Varnaxis Prime, a world-sized structure buried in defensive moons, psychic mines, and temporal traps. No known agent had ever entered it alive, let alone returned. Baba Yaga didn't plot a course. He simply went. An Imperial observer ship was placed near the Expanse's outer rim to track what little it could. For 11 hours, the human ship vanished from sensors. When it reappeared, it was drifting quietly just outside Varnaxis Prime's orbital defenses. Half of its hull was gone. The other half showed no heat signatures. It looked like wreckage. Then the cameras caught movement. He walked out of the ruined airlock, unaided, in nothing but a reinforced exosuit. He crossed 20 kilometers of void without propulsion. He moved like a whisper, deliberate, measured, unaffected by gravity or the vacuum. He didn't use the front door. The outer layer of Varnaxis Prime was a shell city, a vertical sprawl of alien towers built by species long extinct. Automated defense turrets dotted the skyline. Hostile drones patrolled in swarms. Gravity shifts bent architecture at impossible angles. Baba Yaga climbed a tower sideways, passed through a drone formation without alert, and reached the old Zephyr exhaust tunnels. He entered through a vent no one even remembered existed. He began the culling. The first warlord was Suthrax the Collector, a Biarthak monarch who wore the flesh of his rivals as a crown. He was guarded by 80 genetically spliced bodyguards and a psychic firewall that shattered minds on contact. The chamber where he feasted was lined with sentient metal and watched constantly by hundreds of eyes, some mechanical, others not. Suthrax died screaming, his crown crushed in a human hand. None of his guards were seen reacting. They were dead before he was. The Empire's observation ship picked up a single shortwave burst at that exact moment. It was 5 words, spoken in an old Earth dialect. 1 down. 6 to go. The second warlord, Krovnull, operated in a fortress suspended in antimatter, only accessible via teleportation corridors sealed to non-Kayari DNA. Baba Yaga walked straight through. The sensors caught a flicker, a single use of a molecular phase blade, a Terran relic banned millennia ago. When the antimatter containment failed, the resulting burst erased the entire fortress, but Imperial monitors had already received the message. 2 down. The warlords began to panic. They had laughed when the Empire offered the contract. They thought it was an admission of weakness. Now it was a death sentence. The third warlord, an intelligence entity called Osvale, existed only in the neurocloud, an artificial swarm intelligence spread across 1 billion server minds. Baba Yaga uploaded a virus built from human emotion, pure, unfiltered grief, encoded in ancient lullabies and funeral rites. The neurocloud collapsed in 6 minutes. Observers heard the data scream. The message came 3 minutes later, 3 down. The ghost is hungry. The fourth warlord made the mistake of hiding behind civilians. A former general turned tyrant named Halos Vire. He commanded a loyal militia of refugees and desperate mercenaries. He operated a flying bastion above the Expanse's last habitable moon. Baba Yaga landed in full view, walked through 4 kilometers of entrenched fighters, and offered no explanation. What he said to Halos remains unknown. The militia opened fire. None of their shots hit. Halos was found kneeling, unharmed, head bowed, gun melted in his lap. Message, 4 down. They are not ready. By now, the remaining 3 warlords had gone into deep hiding, fracturing their communications, moving between worlds disguised as prisoners, cargo, even holograms. It did not matter. The ghost followed scent, not signal. He moved like the universe whispered secrets into his ear. Back at the Empire, a debate began to stir. Was this still a sanctioned mission or a massacre? Had they unleashed a force they no longer controlled? The fifth warlord was an ancient thing, nameless, voiceless, trapped in a mechanical horror body known only as the cedar. It spread itself through flesh, turning slaves into biomass. It met Baba Yaga inside a spire of bone. The cedar offered no fight. It offered a deal, a pact, a plea. It whispered truths about the universe's end, about humanity's origin. Baba Yaga answered in silence. When the spire collapsed, observers noted only this: 5. No bargains. The 6th took longer. A strategist known as the Twin Sun Architect, she operated a living maze, an entire moon reprogrammed to shift, trap, and consume intruders. For 9 days there was no signal, no sighting. Then the moon froze. Every corridor, every pathway locked in place. She was found sitting at the maze's center, her eyes burned out, her hands grasping a Terran children's book. Message 6. She saw too much. The 7th hid in plain sight. The Imperial High Command had been infiltrated from the start. The final warlord was not in the Expanse, but on the throne world itself, disguised as a general. Baba Yaga returned, not on a ship, but walking through the front gates. He carried no weapon. He said no word. The warlord recognized him too late. When the High Command heard the report, the assassin was already gone. No demand for payment. No declaration of victory. Just a datapad, cracked, soaked in blood, left behind in the throne chamber. One line burned into the screen. Don't call again. The silence after his disappearance was louder than the war. No transmission, no signal, not even the faint hum of Terran life. Imperial Command waited. Days passed. Then weeks. Across the stars, factions once loyal to the 7 warlords began collapsing under the weight of leaderless confusion. Piracy, mutiny, and infighting spread like wildfire. But the Empire had no victory speech. There was no body to raise, no face to honor. Only a name etched into black files they dared not open: Baba Yaga. The Empire tried to move on. It sent fleets to reclaim old territory. It resumed political manipulation. But in shadowed corners of the galaxy, in the ruins of systems once ruled by terror, graffiti began to appear, drawn in ash, etched into hulls, coded into hacked transmissions. He still walks. No signature. Just fear. And then the killings resumed. This time, no contract had been issued. No permission granted. But warlords, crime syndicates, black market tyrants, those who had survived the purge, began dying. Quietly. Brutally. Without pattern. Whole fortresses found empty, blood dried into symbols no translation algorithm could decipher. A whisper began in backroom circles. The ghost isn't done. On Galzareth 9, a fortified vault world held by the Ashen Pact, 3 overlords convened in a gravity-shifted stronghold buried beneath 3 miles of irradiated crust. It was considered untouchable. One night, the pressure sensors registered a presence. By morning, the core reactor had been melted into slag. The overlords' bodies were found stacked, kneeling, facing Terran north. Carved into the wall, debt unpaid. Imperial intelligence denied any involvement. But their analysts noticed a pattern. Every new kill connected to the old warlords, financially, militarily, ideologically. It wasn't random. It was housekeeping. A summit was called on Zenthra Prime, a neutral diplomatic hub outside the Galactic Arm. 32 species sent delegate. The Empire's own envoys arrived under escort. For the first time in a generation, enemies sat at the same table. Not to make peace, to survive. The opening speech never began. The power grid failed. The oxygen systems overclocked. Doors sealed. When the backup lights came online, 31 delegates were dead. The Terran seat was empty. A single bullet rested on the chair. Message intercepted later. Not all ghosts sleep. Panic bled into law. Empires declared Earth off-limits again. Blacklists returned. Human contractors were shadowed or purged. Any trace of Terran involvement triggered drone strikes, surveillance sweeps, and disappearances. It didn't help. It made it worse. The more they hunted him, the more the killings evolved. He stopped leaving messages. He started leaving echoes. Entire fleets reported phantom sensor readings. Boarding alarms triggering in vacuum, AI shutting down mid-sentence. Captains reporting cold breath in sealed suit. Morale plummeted. Training academies introduced new modules. Terran counter-operations. They were useless. The simulations couldn't replicate the unknown. Fear worked faster than propaganda. Imperial researchers, desperate to regain control of the narrative, dug deep into Earth's archive. Most of the data was redacted. What wasn't terrified them? The legends of Baba Yaga were older than spaceflight, a name stitched through folklore, insurgency files, war records, and children's warnings. No clear photo. No standard description. The common thread was always finality. When he came, nothing followed. The research team vanished days later. Their files leaked to ShadowNet. The last page included only this: he doesn't retire. He waits. On the border of the Vermilion Fringe, a brutal mercenary group known as the Hollow Suns seized a civilian station, broadcasting atrocities live. They demanded recognition, legitimacy, power. The station's oxygen supply held out for 3 days. Then they went silent. Rescuers found no bodies, just shredded armor, crushed weapons, and the station's emergency lights flickering to a Terran lullaby. The Empire sent elite kill teams. Not to stop Baba Yaga, no one believed they could, but to make it look like they tried. None returned. The last transmission came from an orbital recon drone. It caught a single frame before going dark. A silhouette in the fog, walking calmly, dragging something heavy. Word spread that the ghost was targeting not just warlords, but anyone profiting from their legacy. Bankers, arms dealers, slavers, spies. If your fortune had roots in the chaos, your time was ticking. High-profile individuals fled to ancient vault ships, buried themselves in forbidden planets, digitized their minds into remote servers. It didn't matter. He found them anyway. A private AI firm rebuilt their CEO in a synthetic body to escape death. The body was found twisted into a Terran symbol that translated roughly to "wrong answer." An arms magnate escaped to a fortress inside a gas giant. The core destabilized. The resulting storm left a crater in spacetime. Deep scan images revealed a shadow standing in the eye of the collapse. The killings were precise, clinical, unrepeatable. Intelligence analysts began to crack. Some resigned. Others built religions. One threw himself from a spire shouting, I saw the empty eyes. The Empire deployed psychological warfare teams to suppress the hysteria. They created fake Baba Yagas, actors, operatives, AI replicants, claiming victories to dilute the myth. It failed. Each imposter was found dead within cycles. One even sent a video claiming to be the real ghost, mocking the galaxy. His mouth was sewn shut the next day. He hadn't posted it. Resistance factions tried recruiting him. Some openly worshipped him, branding his name into their flesh. They were ignored. Others threatened him. They were erased. A rebel fleet sent an offering, 70 stolen war criminals. They were found dead before the delivery arrived. Every corpse with the same expression, calm like they'd seen something beautiful before the end. Rumors reached Earth. Most dismissed them. Earth was quiet. No ships launched. No governments claimed involvement. But those who watched closely noticed changes. A drop in violent crime. Elite special forces retiring early. Entire families moving off-grid. Terran black sites receiving encrypted updates no one could trace. The message wasn't spoken, but it was understood. One of their own had gone out again. The stars would be different when he returned. In a hidden facility orbiting a dead star, a secret meeting was held. Representatives from factions that had once tried to destroy one another gathered in absolute secrecy. They didn't plan war. They planned surrender. They wanted to offer a deal. A truce. A bribe. Anything. The facility imploded seconds after the vote passed. Imperial forces mobilized. 50,000 elite soldiers fortified the citadel. Automated defense grids were doubled. Orbital rings were fitted with thermonuclear fallback. Bioscanners were set to kill on contact. Internal surveillance was handed over to sentient protocols with zero-latency kill switches. The Emperor was moved to a sealed chamber below 20 kilometers of neutronium plating. He was still afraid. Every hour closer to the date, high-ranking officials quietly relocated families, erased digital traces, and prepared escape vessels. They didn't speak of it. They didn't have to. Each knew what was coming. The ghost wasn't coming for conquest. He was coming for closure. On the day itself, the galaxy held its breath. Pirate fleets went still. Border skirmishes paused. Even the outer colonies went dark, their citizens glued to illicit news feeds, watching for the impossible. But nothing happened. Then the stars blinked. A full sector around the citadel experienced a mass sensor blackout. No energy surge. No explosion. Just absence. Satellites turned to dust. Communication relays fried. And when vision returned, something was missing. The outermost ring of defense, gone. Not destroyed. Gone. No debris. No alarm. Just a perfect void where 10,000 sentry ships had orbited moments before. Imperial command panicked. Orders clashed. Some wanted to retreat. Others screamed to detonate the failsafe. But before consensus formed, the inner grid failed. Doors opened inside the citadel. On levels buried in secrecy, sealed vaults unlatched. Cameras glitched. Guards blinked and vanished. Gravity reversed in sections. Oxygen ignited in others. Entire squads suffocated, burned, froze, without alarms, without time to scream. The AI overseeing defense locked itself down in self-preservation. It understood something organic minds refused to accept. It wasn't being attacked. It was being dissected. Inside the Emperor's chamber, backup guards activated neural dampeners, prepared for psychic assault, biological contagion, even dimensional rupture. Nothing came. Just footstep. No heat signature. No mass. Just foot-shaped indentations in the reinforced flooring. The guards opened fire. The bullets stopped midair. They turned slowly and shot each other. No voice gave the command. No signal was detected. Just the cold weight of inevitability pressing down until the human mind broke to escape it. The Emperor stood alone, shaking, staring at the steel walls that had outlasted wars. He spoke to the dark, offering gold, technology, planet. He even offered Earth, Access codes, historical reparations, absolution of all conflict. The lights dimmed. Then the room fell completely silent. What happened next was never recorded. The monitoring systems had already collapsed. But when the next cycle's maintenance team entered, they found the chamber undisturbed, save for one detail. The throne was empty. The floor bore a single Terran phrase etched in blood: "The crown has no head." The galaxy convulsed. With the Emperor gone, the line of succession shattered. Power struggles erupted across the core world. Factions once united under fear tore each other apart. Resource convoys were hijacked by their own escorts. Subjugated species began rising in synchronized rebellion. Every governor loyal to the old order was found dead within days. Not by planetary uprising, not by army, by personal execution. Always one shot. Clean. Untraceable. A whisper campaign emerged. He's not hunting now. He's pruning. A council of remaining Imperial strategists convened in the deep dark, the most secure data haven in the galaxy, outside known space, accessible only through quantum entanglement lock. They debated next moves, unsure if any action mattered. Midway through the meeting, a console lit up. An audio file autoplayed. It was the sound of earth wind across pine needles. The lead strategist shot himself moments later. Those who didn't found themselves erased. Not assassinated, removed. No name. No record. No memory in those who'd known them. Only occasionally would someone see a photograph with a gap, a blurred spot where a face should have been. Even memory was being undone. The new Imperial successor tried negotiation. Through proxies, they sent an envoy to the Terran Protectorate. They never received a reply. Not even a rejection. Just silence. As if the offer itself had never been made. A last-ditch effort followed. Send a human. A decorated veteran. One of their own. Perhaps kinship could grant clarity. He lasted 10 minutes inside the Citadel ruins. His body was returned to the Empire in perfect condition. His soul was not. His last words, scrawled on the ship's interior with his own fingernails, read, "He looked at me. I was never born." Rebellion bloomed in the core. Systems long oppressed saw opportunity in the chaos. But as they rose, they found themselves corrected. Leaders disappeared. Not the cruel ones, the ambitious ones. The power-hungry. The ones who sought to wear new crowns on the old bones. Each revolution that tried to mirror the Empire found its echo waiting in the dark. The galaxy began self-regulating, not out of order, but fear. Over time, something strange happened. Piracy declined. Slave markets collapsed. Warlordism turned suicidal. Sectors once ruled by terror became ghost zones, quiet, abandoned, cold. Not because people fled, but because no one dared establish dominion. The void was sacred now. The concept of control itself became dangerous. Laws shifted subtly. New governments avoided hierarchy. No central thrones, no singular rulers. Decision-making spread like roots, decentralized, deniable. Everyone wanted to make sure they weren't the face of power. That face had been taken. Across civilizations, art began to reflect this change. Murals showed a faceless guardian watching from above. Stories told of a force that punished pride, erased tyranny, and remembered every name no one else mourned. Children played pretend as ghost hunters, not to capture but to beg forgiveness. Entire festivals sprang up to honor victims of the old empire, not by name but by silence. It worked. Peace spread, not from diplomacy, not from trade, but from caution. A new balance emerged. One where justice had no bureaucracy. Where retribution didn't send invoices. Where consequence walked quietly. Decades passed. Humanity returned to its shadows. No expansion, no declaration of victory. Earth remained quiet. Ships passed it with reverence, not curiosity. The planet became myth again, a cradle that birthed something the stars weren't ready for. No one ever found Baba Yaga. No body. No transmission. No grave. Only effects. In the ruins of a former Imperial command tower, a child scavenger found a bullet carved with symbols older than recorded time. She brought it to her village elder. He took it without speaking, eyes wide, hands shaking. That night, he burned every map, every flag, every document linking them to the old empire. The child asked why. He only whispered, "We are seen." In time, empires fell without being touched. Armies disbanded without being told. And across the galaxy, in every culture, in every language, one law remained, unspoken but unbroken. Never build a throne. Because somewhere, in the dark between stars, he still walked. Not for war. Not for rage. But because someone, somewhere, might forget. And he would remind them,